what actions, if performed regularly or consistently, will lead to growth in this area? And now I just need to do that consistently and I'll grow in that area. Like it really is that simple. It's unreasonable to say that if I just do these things, I won't grow. And a lot of times we fail to do this work. It's more, I set goals. I'm going to do this year. And then we don't really get down to what are the actions that actually lead to me hitting that goal. So that's why I really love this exercise is I can get real specific. And then if I do these things, I'll improve in this area. And if I don't, I won't. We want to live a life by design, not by default. And if you aren't living it by design, you are living by default. And what is default? It's just flying by the seat of your pants. It's doing what's easy. It's doing what's comfortable.
Yeah.
And growth.
Just existing.
Yeah. And like, is that the life you want to live? No, I think most of us would say no, it's not. But we often, unless you're being intentional, I think live by design, I think you could say intentional would be a similar way to say that. If you're not intentional, you're just gonna do whatever, and it's not gonna lead you to the life that you want.
With the New Year of Honest, many of us are focused on goal setting and maybe the things we want to change about ourselves, about our lives, our business. And we want to take some time just to walk through a process that I do, that I walk my clients through on what it looks like to not necessarily set goals that we may never ever reach, but how to make those changes regardless. So if you find yourself in a place where you're like, all right, new year, new me, how about we say new year, same me, but stronger. And we're going to work through this together. So grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. You'll need it for this exercise that I'm going to walk you through, and we're going to get started.
Or if you're driving, maybe save that for later. You come back to this one when you do have a piece of paper. Don't just start writing while you're driving.
We 10 out of 10 do not recommend that you write while you drive, but keep listening. All right. It's a new year. It's a new you. I actually don't like that saying. Actually, like new year, same me, but better. Like I'm still the same person. I just want to get better. I feel like we were talking before this podcast. I was looking at some of my last year, like when I was here at this time last year, having these same conversations and the ways that I've grown, the ways that I still have to grow, something I can look forward to. Like I actually love this work. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to, this is scary because we know what we haven't done and accomplished and all of that throughout this last year. But I actually love sitting down and just saying like, this is where I'm at. This is how far I've come. This is how far I still have to go. And it just feels empowering to me. It feels like it gives me like some control. Like it's like, okay, this is the focus. Let's go. Like, let's do it. So we want to do that with you guys. And we want to, I want to just say like right out of the gate, like this can feel a little bit heavy, a little bit scary because we're kind of looking at some of the places. We're just taking an honest look at where we're at. And that can be scary. So try to listen to this podcast and do this work objectively without shame or judgment. Just we're yoga teachers. This is what we literally teach people to do. Like find, the position that works for you today without shame or judgment, right? And so we've got to be our own students in this moment. But if you do this work and you kind of start to implement some of the things that we're going to teach you, we're going to be having a different conversation this time next year, right? Because I am, like Nick and I were just talking and I was like, man, this is so different from last year. And so I'm excited for y'all. I'm excited to walk you through this process of, I wouldn't say it's goal setting. Like there is a way to goal set and set metrics and all of that, but this is more like betterment setting. Like, how do I get better? Here we go.
Yeah, it's more about identifying the areas that I want to grow in, grow myself or grow my business. And I don't want to add on to what you said too, that or what I say sometimes when we do like mindset work with people is that this is a race to real, like REAL, real, like to be as real as possible, to be as honest as possible, because the more honest that you are, like the better result we're going to get. And if you kind of keep things surface level or sugarcoat things, like it's going to be really hard to grow or change. So, and like you had said, like there's no guilt or shame, but let's just be as honest as possible because then we can do something with that.
All right. Well, welcome back. We have taken a break. We took our sabbatical for the year. Cheers to our first year of podcasting. We did it. Nobody went to jail. Have you seen that meme or that reel that's like me and my bestie starting a podcast, and it's like the next day it's them in handcuffs going to jail. we survived. We did it. Nobody went to jail. How has this break been for you? Like, has it been like, have you been having all these thoughts of like what we want to do next? How's it been?
Yeah. So, I mean, things that I want to talk about, gratitude for what we've done so far and how the show has gone, and seeing real people like in our Facebook groups and stuff, like talk about it and like, oh, I can't wait for it to start back up. You know, I'm missing the new episodes. So that's been cool. It's been good work wise, just because the episodes add a lot to my workload. So it's been nice, kind of catching my breath there and thinking through some changes or tweaks or things I might want to do differently this year with our content.
Which is just another reminder that we have to build in sabbaticals, whether it's, I mean, like for us, we took a couple of months to do that and kind of really reflect. It kind of lets everything settle. Like, okay, this is what it was. This is what we want it to be. This is what we want to be different. But it also just gives our mind and ourselves a break from the work. Something we do at the studio is the last week from Christmas to New Year's, we shut the studio down completely. Like, we don't offer any classes. Like, it is our dead week. And I think that's important because it gives our teachers a break. It helps our students. Like you said, they're like, man, I didn't realize how much I missed this until I didn't have it. And I just think it's just another reminder that we have to go back to that Sabbath heart posture on a regular basis, especially those of us who are high producers. Like you and I, like we run fast. We're sprinters. We're like, let's go. You can only sprint so long before you will be forced to take a break. So I think it's good. Yeah, I feel like the same way. Like, I feel like as we've taken a pause from this and I've lowered my classes, I tend to do that in the month of December. Like, I kind of just take that last month to just breathe a little bit because everything else gets busier. So going on 7 years of this, I've learned, like, that's just what I do. And I plan for it and it's happening. But I have found myself feeling like just dreaming more, just being like, I love this. I miss podcasting. I miss creating, conversations for us to have here. And I don't know, like, it just was a space for my mind and my heart to just kind of rest. And like you said, reflect on what we're grateful for and how well things have gone. And then just have new and fresh, innovative ideas for what I want to share and put out into the world. So it's been good for me too. I quit drinking coffee. I feel like this is the podcast. I shouldn't tell people that I quit drinking coffee. I love coffee, and y'all know I've talked about it a lot. So I was going to ask Nick what coffee he is drinking. But, after my trip to Costa Rica, I really started drinking a lot of coffee after that because, it's Costa Rica. You have to drink coffee in Costa Rica. And then I came home and started drinking coffee, and then it started catching up to me, and I remembered why I quit. So what kind of coffee are you drinking today?
I can't remember the exact name of the bean, but it comes from India, some kind of Indian... something estates. No, I mean, it's coffee.
Yeah, I know, but how like Indian food has like a certain spice to it, even if it's not like hot spicy. It's just a spice. I'm just drinking Earl Grey black tea with honey and cream. So I guess it's kind of like a London fog. And our little Jesus Coffee Yoga cup. Let's talk about this. These cups we made for our retreaters. Like, that's a huge celebration for us. We got to have our first in-person event, and it was amazing. You want to do like a really quick recap? I feel like it was so, so, so good. And then we'll get into our work today.
Yeah, it was really cool to finally meet some people that some of them who attended, we knew from previous things that we've done virtually. And then there was one who we met for the first time, but it was really cool to get to meet people in real life, like to actually like give them a hug or a side hug and get to spend some time with them. Like, it's just different when it's in person. Even if we're having a one-on-one session or a two-on-one session with somebody, it's just different. It just hits different. It slaps. Is that what kids are saying?
It slaps. Yes.
It's different when it's in person. And I thought it was just really cool to get to have that time. Talk about where they're at, dream, give them ideas. I think we learned some things too. Like, all right, the next one we're going to do a little differently. One thing I think we should just mic ourselves up like, the whole time, because there were times like we'd be out on a walk, like walking by the river, and just kind of walking and chatting. And like stuff would spew out and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I wish we recorded that. I'm like, well, next time we probably should.
We really did. Like, yeah, get some of those little YouTube fuzzy mics that people wear, like right here. Just go. It was really cool. It was really cool. I didn't give side hugs. I gave a full-on hug. It was so wonderful. And I love just getting to share those little experiences, like you said, like going for a walk or shoving way too many people in one vehicle to go to dinner, like a legally amount of people in the car. And so it was so fun to get to like just do life with them for 4 days, 5 days, however long we were there, and just watch them, like those lights come on. Like we get to see that in micro moments with our coaching clients and things like that. But like we were like together, and it was just so good. And I thought it was really good to see you in that element. So I get to do retreats, and I think everybody there has probably been on some level of retreats, and we get to do classes and have some of those experiences. But it was kind of cool to see you getting to experience what we get to experience on a regular basis, or I do. And then I thought that we did a bunch of workshops, which hopefully y'all will have access to at some point. And they were fire. Like I remember, like I just was like, hold on, can you say that again? Like as Nick was teaching his workshops, like it was just like coming out. It was just so different being with them and like interacting. And so that was cool for me to bear witness to, was to watch how you got to be a part of that, and the way that God used the knowledge and the education and the experience that you have and bring it to these women and these leaders to build it, what it is that God has for them. And so that was really fun for me.
Yeah. And it was really cool too that all of us helped each other. Like it's not just us teaching you, but the other attenders helped each other and had great ideas and insights and stuff. And I thought that was really cool as well.
Yeah. And it was a smaller retreat, which we decided after that retreat that we would keep all of those types of retreats small, because it really added value to be able to have that connection. Like you said, like everybody just kind of jumped into each other's stories. So for those of y'all listening to this and you're like, I want to go, we actually have one coming up in June. Nick, do you have the link for that off the top of your head?
If you go to christiansdoyoga.com/retreat, then it'll, depending on when you hear this, it'll either send you to like a wait list sign up page, or if we're selling tickets, then, or whatever you call it. Do you sell tickets? What do you call it?
I call them tickets.
So just depending on when you hear this, it'll take you to the right place to either get on the list or to sign up.
Yeah, you guys do that. So if you're like, yeah, sign me up for that, I want some of that, come hang out with us in June in Tulsa. It was wonderful. All right, let's get into this today. I'm excited about this. This is some work that I do personally, but then I like to walk, not even just in a business sense, but if I'm coaching someone just personally, one-on-one, I always walk them through this. And again, it can feel a little scary, a little vulnerable, but I like your statement. I heard it at retreat for the first time. Like, this is the race to real. So like, vulnerability is your superpower. So yes, it feels vulnerable, and this is a judgment-free zone. So you need to be a judgment-free zone for yourself. Even if no one ever sees this and you go and you put it in the trash right after you're done with this, I want you to feel safe enough with you to do some of this work, because then you're empowered to take your next step. So I just saw something come across my screen, and I want to just share it here. Like, it just popped in my head just now. Like, this is so random. It was something along the lines of like, imagine living a life that you hate because it feels safe. And like, when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, because I see it. And like, it just put language around what I see so often, even here when we have conversations with you guys, like, I want to do this thing, but I'm not sure, or I'm scared. What if I pay the money and it doesn't work? What if all the things? And I'm like, but like, can you imagine just living a life that you hate because it feels safe? Like, I can't. I can't. And I don't want that for anybody hearing my voice, like, because I know there's better. So perfect, no. Messy, yes. Like, all the things. And you can live a big, beautiful, bold life, which is really like our ultimate heartbeat for even just this podcast, of like doing work you love and living a life you love. Like, both can exist. It's not always 100% of the time, but like, it can happen. So when we do this work, keep that in mind. This may feel unsafe. It may feel scary.
I want to just add to that what came to me is that we want to live a life by design, not by default. And if you aren't living it by design, you are living by default. And what is default? It's just flying by the seat of your pants. It's doing what's easy. It's doing what's comfortable.
Yeah,
And
just
growth.
existing.
Yeah. And like, is that the life you want to live? I think most of us would say no, it's not. But we often, unless you're being intentional, so I think live by design, I think you could say intentional would be a similar way to say that. If you're not intentional, you're just gonna do whatever, and it's not gonna lead you to the life that you want.
Yeah, it's good. So that's why we're doing this work. That's why we're going to do this. And we want to hear from you guys. Like, if you feel the freedom to share or you just want to share, we're a safe place. Shoot us an email, DM us, do whatever, and let us know after we go through this work. We're going to lead you through it and kind of just go through the process of what I do, what we do as we're looking to and seeking God for our next step, right? Like, I don't want to do this without him. So I'm inviting him into all of this work. Like, hey, God, this feels really scary. This feels really vulnerable. And I want your best for my life, for the design that you have created and called me to live out. So that's my passion. And that's why I do this. That's why I do this work. So when we talk about, like, we've done a podcast, I think was one of our very first episodes on goal setting. I think we might have even done 2. Like, I don't remember. I wish I'd gone back and listened.
I don't remember. Let me look it up, because I think it was like episode 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 or something like that. There were 2 parts.
Yeah. So this is something that we do. Like, we're kind of like, all right, it's a new year. I got my word. My word this year is thrive. My word this year, like, you come up with this word that you feel like God has given you, or that maybe you just gave yourself and you want to implement into your life. But then, like, February comes around, it's like, oh, wait, what was it again? I can't remember. And so instead of setting hard metrics and like all these numerical goals, which are not bad, I think we need them and they have their place. I really want to talk about setting intention. And we're yoga teachers, so we understand what this means, the intention of this practice. So if I'm going to lead a yoga class that the intention is peace, I'm going to have music to support it. I'm going to have language to support it. I'm going to have scripture to support it. I'm going to have postures that are more peaceful. So why do we look at our life and our year ahead of us or our quarter ahead of us, whatever it is, and we do it differently? It's like, okay, I feel like the Lord is calling me to elevate. Okay, so now what do I need to support that, right? So we're going to go through it. Just take a look at where we're at. And I'm going to walk you through this process, and we're going to ask you some questions. And I pray that God just uses this time in this space. Again, if you're listening, go ahead and finish listening to this podcast. But I want you to stop and come back and do this work. And like I said, this conversation will be different in 12 months, which we know will go by like that. So do it. Just do the work. Yeah. Okay.
Something that came to me too as we were discussing this and talking about it is that you can't grow what you don't measure. And so this is part of the process, is let's identify some things and let's measure it so that we can tell if did we grow or not. I don't even know. And unless you're doing this work, you don't even know. And even if things are better, you said this earlier as we were talking, you're like, wow, I didn't even realize last year this time, I rated myself here. Now this year I'm up here. Like, oh, had I not gone back to look at that, I would have missed that.
Yeah, it just wouldn't have been as obvious, right? Because like our minds constantly look for the critical, and we look for the what needs to change and what's the lower points and things like that. So essentially what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through just different areas of your life. So grab your pen and paper or pull out your notes app. Again, I just did this with a small coaching group that I hosted in November and December, but I do it at the front of the year with my retreaters. So in January, I always host a front of the year retreat, and we go through this. So I did it with them in January of this year, and I went back and looked, and all of my numbers except one had gone up by almost double. Like it was, and everything was kind of steady, like kind of in the same. And so I was like, thank you, God. Like, this is awesome. And I can recognize rewinding the last 12 months or 11 months of my life, like the work that I've done and the daily behavior modifications and weekly and monthly and quarterly that I've done to have gotten myself here. So we're going to start with you. So this is just you as a person. I'm going to walk you through like an area of your life, and you're just going to write down on your paper 1 to 10, 10 being great, 1 being like, I feel buried in a hole. like you. So 1 to 10. And you only have a couple seconds to do this. I actually want you to do it quickly, and I want you to go with your gut. Like what comes up first, because some of us are overthinkers and we'll just overthink. And I don't want you to do that here. I want you to overthink in the areas of strategy and less here. Okay. So again, no shame. Let's move through it. So personally, and actually I just did these, so I'll share mine with you. And I asked Nick if he would do them also. Rating yourself from 1 to 10 in your physical health. Where would you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10? So we're talking exercise, fitness, nutrition, supplements, doctor, like getting your labs done, just your overall sleep, your overall health. And as I'm saying some of those things, in the generalized, like physical health is what we're scoring ourselves. If any of those words kind of stand out, like nutrition or whatever, maybe just jot that down to the side. Like if there's one area that you're like,
That was one recommendation I was going to make. I forgot to say that before we went into this, that if there's an area for you that you want to highlight that's more specific than a broad category, make that a specific category for you. So you have total freedom. Like for me, for example, my physical health, yeah, I can rate that, but specifically sleep has been a struggle, and I want to rate sleeps just specifically. Like my nutrition, exercise, everything else has been fine. I'll still rate my overall physical health, but sleep is an area I want to rate that individually. So there might be something for you. Have total freedom. Yeah, make specific categories if you need to. These are just suggestions.
absolutely. So you have your physical health. The next, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your spiritual health? So it's going to be your time with God, time in the Word, time with your community of believers, serving at your church, just your overall spiritual health. And then the next one, 1 to 10, purpose. So you feel like you are living in your purpose. You feel like you are doing what you're called to do, using your gifts, talent, skills, experience, story, pain, all of the things to bring purpose to the world around you. Scale of 1 to 10, mental well-being. This is your inner life. This is like the inner dialogue, the way you talk to yourself, the things that you absorb through your eyeballs and ear holes, your negative versus positive, your scarcity versus abundance, your overall anxiety, depression, mental well-being. The next one is joy and hobbies. So this is going to be doing things that you love to do that is just for you. Like you enjoy doing these things because they make you feel like a little kid again, or they make you feel like there's no pressure. We're not producing. We're not performing. We're not making, it's not to make money. Like this is just something you do that brings you joy. That's an extra little hobby. The next one is fulfillment, just overall satisfaction. Like where do you feel you would rate yourself? A sense of just feeling satisfied with life. And again, if an area specifically comes to mind, jot that down, put a number next to it if you want to. The next one is restoration. So this is going to be your Sabbath. This is going to be ways that you're actually restoring, not just numbing out, not just, stopping completely, but like what are you doing to rebuild and restore your energy, your physical body, your faith, all of the things we've even already talked about, but just restoration. And then the last one that I have for you on your personal side of things is your relationships. Where would you rate yourself in your relationship? So your relationship with your spouse or your partner, your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your coworkers, your teams that you're leading or that you're a part of, your relationship with God, which can kind of fall under spiritual health, but just the way that you are interacting with the world around you and the level of give and take that you're giving and receiving from those relationships. So let's move on to business, and then we'll come back and talk about these with our next part of this activity. So when you think about your business, your ministry, you're maybe a yoga teacher or fitness instructor, or not, maybe you just do business. Okay. We came up with a couple of things, and this one I'm going to do with you because I haven't done this one for myself. So So I'm going to rate myself along with you as we go through here. So again, 1 to 10, when it comes to your business, your systems and tracking, where would you rate yourself? So systems and tracking. So this is like tracking income, tracking all the things that we have to keep on track of, and then the systems to support you. Okay. And the next one is training. You're training as a fitness instructor or yoga teacher. How do you feel in your development of as a teacher? The next one is profit. If you wanted to rate how much money you're making and bringing in and how just the money side of things, where would you rate that? Okay, for those of you actively teaching classes right now, your class sizes or your attendance. Nick added this one I thought was really, really good. The next one is enjoyment. Enjoyment for the work that you're still doing. And this is one of those that's like, I got to get really honest, like, because I found myself in seasons where I did not enjoy going to that class to teach that class, but I told myself I did. So just being honest with yourself, 1 to 10, where would you rate your enjoyment for the work you're doing right now? And then the last one is your leadership, or maybe just your development of that, a development of you as a leader.
And here I just wanted to say leading yourself and leading others. Like you might not have a team and you might say, well, I'm not working on leadership. Well, you need to lead yourself too.
Yeah. And you're leading, if you're teaching classes actively, you're also leading people in that way too, or in other areas, of course. All right. So we have our numbers. Take a look at it without shame. I'm going to grab a highlighter. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through our list, and I want you to highlight your 3 lowest numbers. Okay. Your 3 lowest numbers.
But if you have a tie, pick
one.
Yeah.
You'll know. You already know which one to pick on the inside of you. Just trust yourself. And I did this, again, when I usually go through this, it's just one big one. But since we kind of broke it into 2, maybe you highlight 4. That way you have 2 in one and 2 in the other. But I just did my bottom 3 numbers, and I want to talk through those. Then what I would do is I'm going to get, because I'm me and I'm extra, I'm getting another color. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to circle the one that's the lowest, or maybe it's the one you really, really want to work on. So if you have like a 3, 3, 4, but you want to work on the 4 really bad this year, really a lot, circle that one. So I'm going to circle my lowest number. And actually, I am going to circle 1 in business and 1 in personal, because I think they're important. That's important. Both are important.
I wanted to throw that caveat in there that it's not necessarily which scores are the lowest. It's what are the low ones you want to change. Because I've got a low one, and I don't care about that one as much right now. I want to change these other ones.
Yeah, I think that's good. So, okay, so we've done that. Again, we're not overthinking it. We're just doing it. There's no right or wrong. I mean, again, you can throw this in the trash later if you want to. So let me walk you through mine. I just did this the other day with I'm showing you guys if you're watching on YouTube, with my coaching group. And I looked at all of my numbers. I have 8, 7, 7, 8, 7, 4, 7, 7, 8. Let me just say, when I did this in January, I didn't have anything over a 6. Like everything, but I thought it was interesting that everything had come up. And then the one that I scored the lowest on, which is the most obvious, was joy and hobbies, which, reflecting last year in 2023, the year before that, my joy and hobbies, I would say, was probably the highest at that point. So I think it's interesting to look at that. And so when I did one for my business, I did tracking and systems. I scored myself a 3 on that. So I've got some work to do, right? So now I know, okay, these are the things that I need to focus on. I need to lean into. So what do we do? So Nick, do you want to share yours?
Like the whole list?
No, just like maybe your lowest, or maybe anything you were surprised by, or.
I'm not really surprised by it. I mean, it's just stuff I've been thinking about. But for me, sleep has been a struggle and an area that can improve. Overall, my physical health is great. Like my nutrition and my exercise is on point, but my sleep suffers. So physical health overall, I rated higher, but sleep sucks. So I want to focus on that, because there are things that I can do to help sleep better. Relationships, mainly with my kids and with my wife, aren't as good as they could be. And I know that, and I've known that for a while. So it's an area that I want to improve.
Probably
And
because you're
then
so tired.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot. Like, there's never like
I know.
this one thing, like just do
No.
this and magically it's better, because we would have done
Mhm.
that already. And then joy and fun hobbies, like I have them. I just haven't, I've been working more than I want to and been sacrificing that. I want to change that.
Did you have any in the business area that were highlighted for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So for me, enjoyment is low. I'm not exactly sure what to do about that. I have some thoughts. And then my class size and attendance
Oh
is
yeah.
different.
Well,
I would say it's
your metric.
my number of clients. That's something I want to work on this next year.
Well, like I said, my lowest was a 3. And then when I scored myself, my next lowest was profit. And so I'm kind of looking at like ways to do that. But I think if I would bring my number 3 up, my profit would go up too. So like, it is, you will see that. Like if you're getting more sleep, you might enjoy your work more. You might have more energy to pour into the relationship. So they really do kind of interconnect. But that's why I'm like, if you can get to one, or at least one in each area, and you just pour energy into that for a set amount of time, like you'll see this change. And you just break it down and make it so bite-sized that like the only reason you can't do it or you're not doing it is because we're just not doing it. We're being lazy or ignoring it. You're right. My enjoyment was 9. Like I thought that was kind of an interesting, I don't know that I would have, I don't know, like I wouldn't have thought that until I wrote it down, but my enjoyment is a 9. Like I'm loving where I'm at. I just want to make more money and make it easier on the business side, because that's the stuff I suck at. So, which a lot of us do, honestly. Like when we're good with people and I enjoy my classes, my class for my attendance, I put an 8. Like I like where my class sizes are. Like they're good. They're strong classes. Everybody good repeat. I mean, like, but I want to make more money. So like I want to make more money for what I'm doing. So.
Yeah. I forgot you wanted me to share numbers. I didn't share any numbers.
Oh, well, that's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
I had a whole lot of 5s and 6s. I tried to avoid 7. Here's a tip. Anytime you're doing this 1 to 10 thing, if it's a 7, pretend 7 doesn't exist. It's got to be a 6 or an 8. That kind of helps you, like, because 7's like,
See, I feel that way about 5. I'm
Really?
like, a 4 or a 6, is it? Yeah, because 5's like right in the middle. And I personally tend to lean towards the 5 because I'm like, well, it's not good, it's not bad. And then I don't know what to do with it. So I try to either go up or down. So I rarely give myself 5s, but I had 1, 2, 3, 4 7s on my personal one. So I do think that's interesting.
I had a coach tell me that once. It's like, there's no 7s. It's got to be
There's
an
no
8 or a
7.
6. Because I feel like
Well,
4 or 5, you're like, it's kind of the same. But like,
yeah.
7 or an 8, like, is
Yeah.
it an 8 or a 6? To me, that feels like 8's like, things are awesome. I'm almost there. And a 6 is like, it's a little better than average, but needs work.
No, it's just really interesting. And again, there's like no right or wrong. It's just kind of like just something to look at. Like a lot of us, we need, we talked about this before. I'm a very gut person, so like I can tell you like, oh, I'm doing really well without having any metrics of why. I just know. I just know that I'm doing well, or I know that I'm not doing well, and it's really good for me to have something to show for it. So when I did this a couple weeks ago with my group, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's awesome. Like I feel all of those things are true, but I like to see it on paper is like, okay, that's kind of cool.
One other thing too. So like the profit category, because you can slice this a few different ways. I want to look at like profit and income. You either have like a margin, is what we call it. Your margin is like, here's my gross income and here's all my expenses and here's the net. And like, what's that percentage of every dollar that comes in? How much percentage is profit? Or you have the actual dollar amount. For this year, I made this much and this much was profit. Because you might be okay with your percentage, your margins, but you need more volume. So for me, my percentage profit, I'm really happy with where I'm at as a percentage, but I want more volume. So that was kind of where my attendance, my client load, there's room for a little bit more. And even though I had the best year I've ever had from a revenue point of view, some of that was like special one-off stuff. I'm like, no, I need another more regular clients because I'm not sure what this next year is going to look like if I don't have more of those like one-off projects. So that's kind of stuff I think through with money and profit is like as a percentage or as a total like revenue, like maybe those are two different categories.
Well, and I think if I were coaching you or if you were coaching yourself, you would kind of take all of this. And so what I hear you saying is you want to increase on the production side, like you want to bring in more volume, but you're not getting sleep and you want to pour into more relationships and you're not really enjoying the work. So like, do you see the kind of gap there? Like what would you tell someone in your shoes? Or if I just told you all of that, like what would that look like for you? Like to kind of bridge that gap or just some ideas. Maybe you don't know exactly, but
this kind of ties into my word for the year that I didn't spend a whole lot of time on, but think it's probably my word.
This year or next year?
For this coming year.
24, yeah.
Yeah, for 2025. Well, sorry, we're filming this in December. Yeah. This is going to come out in January, so I flipped my brain. We're in January now.
January.
For this year, for 2025. My word is team. And someone else had a word trust, which is kind of related. Part of my lack of team building is my lack of trust in others to do the work as good as I do. That's an area like that's going to be my primary focus this year is developing others so that I'm not having to do as much of the day-to-day work and I can focus more on the strategy and like the stuff where other people can edit videos, but it's harder to find the strategy and the higher level things that I can bring to the table.
As someone who, like, I'm gonna lean into this. As someone who I feel like this is a strength of mine, where I can identify, bring in, develop, send out type thing. I find that sometimes it's not that you don't trust them; it's sometimes that we don't trust us to make the right decision for who to bring in. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if maybe sit with that a little bit, because for me, I have felt that way where it's like, I don't know if this is the right person, or I don't trust myself to have the right conversations to get them off my team or to know how to lead through the development process. And I have felt that in different areas of my life in general. So maybe it's less about like, I can't trust them to do it. It's almost like, do I trust myself enough to develop them to meet the need that's there? And that's a different question, because that kind of goes back to leadership and what it looks like to lead ourselves. Like sometimes we do miss it. Like sometimes we make the wrong mistake. Sometimes we bring the wrong person on the team. Sometimes we don't develop them properly, and it's us. It's an us thing. And so, which is my word for the year, and it was like for 2024, and it's all workoutable. Right? Like it's all workoutable. So like you just make a different decision. You take the L, which is not a loss, it's a learn, and you take it and move forward. And so I don't know, like as you were talking, I was just like, here's what I think could be happening and has happened to me. But like it's, more about, do I trust myself to make this decision, the right decision or the perfect decision? Like sometimes you just make it and you just learn along the way and you give yourself the grace to do it and the people around you.
Yeah. And realizing even if you make the quote unquote wrong choice, like nothing is permanent.
Everything's workoutable. That's my motto. What's the best that could happen, Nick? I want you to write that on a tattoo on your forehead for this year. What's the best that could happen? If you just let your brain think about it, it's like, what's the best that could happen? If this works and I hire this person, what's the best that could happen? I become the leader I need to be. We get the systems they need. They take off. I go somewhere else and do these things that only I can do. My team grows. I grow. They grow. They love what they're doing. That's the best that could happen. I don't know. I think I'd rather think about that. So, okay. Those of you that are kind of sitting here and like, again, I wanted Nick to do this kind of real time so that I could kind of like show you my process of going through this. But then it's like, now what do I do with this work? Like, okay, I'm looking at these numbers that I feel like I want to stab my eyeball out so that I don't have to see these numbers. What do I do with it? So we have a couple of questions for you to think through. Again, get your pen and paper out. If you're on a walk and you're listening to this, just kind of think about it. Maybe ask the Lord to come into this conversation in your mind about this as well. But the first question I had was, who do I need in my corner? Okay, so I need to build a better system for tracking and just to kind of streamline some of all the things, because y'all, I have a team of 5 of us that I have to now manage. It's not just me anymore. When it was just me, it was like, this is what I made, this is what I brought in, done. Like, like it was just a little bit easier, but now I'm having to manage so many other things. So I need to reach out to, and I already have, someone who can help me get this in order. So someone's going to help me build the system, train me on how to use the system, and hopefully keep me accountable to actually using the system. And then for joy and hobbies, like I have to take some stuff off my calendar on a regular basis, or just protect the time that I have and build in and actively seek out things I want to do. So like something I've wanted to do for a long time is learn to play an instrument. Like that would be really fun. Like I would love to learn to play an instrument decently. And so what do I need to do? I need to find someone who can teach me that. I need to hire a guitar player or a piano player. And I need to, again, build in that time, protect that time to make space for this hobby. So that's going to bring my goal. Even if it's on a smaller scale, it doesn't have to be a daily basis. Like if it's, a couple times a month, I do these lessons, I practice, and this time next year, I'll know how to play a song on the piano. So who do I need in my corner? So that's your question.
Okay, so next I want you to ask, and this might require some thinking, some pondering, maybe even asking others for help, or you might just know. So I say this pretty often. A lot of times we know what we need to be doing differently. We're just not doing it. So you might already know, but you might not. What actions, if performed regularly or consistently, will lead to growth in this area? So it's easy to say like, I want to improve my relationship with my spouse. What actions would actually, if we did this regularly, would help me grow in my relationship with my spouse? Yeah, date night. That's a big one. Daily compliments. Like when you start looking at what is something I can do that will improve that area, and now I just need to do that consistently and I'll grow in that area. Like it really is that simple. I want to grow my class size. All right, well, what are things we can do to grow my class size, my attendance? We brainstorm some ideas on this. One would be, can I make a better experience? So what are things I'm doing in my class that I could maybe do a little better or do differently to make it a more enjoyable experience? What other things lead to more people attending my classes? Well, marketing, getting the word out there. Maybe I need to get better at what I'm doing. Maybe my volume is fine. I talk about things enough online or emails or whatever, but I'm just not getting the response I want. You might need to improve your skills. Well, what are some actions I can do to improve my skills in marketing? I can get a course. I can watch some YouTube videos. Like whatever it is, you can seek out ways to grow if it's a skill. It just might be volume. I'm just not posting enough. I know I'm not, and I need to post more often. Great. So let's set I need to post this many times. So just really think through these different areas. What are things that I can do that will help me grow? Like it's unreasonable to say that if I just do these things, I won't grow. No, if you want to lose weight, if you stick to your calorie budget and like you just do that every day, you're going to lose weight. Mm-hmm. It's as simple as that. And a lot of times we fail to do this work. It's more, set goals. I'm going to do this year. And then we don't really get down to what are the actions that actually lead to me hitting that goal. So That's why I really love this exercise is I can get real specific. And then if I do these things, I'll improve in this area. And if Absolutely. I don't, I won't.
Yeah, it's good. And we've used, it's so easy to point to, but we've used like losing weight as an example before, but this is why this is a little different. So your goal, right? Your metric is to lose 50 pounds in 2025. Not a bad goal. Like, I mean, if you have it to lose and you need to lose it to be healthier, not a bad goal. But just putting that out there is not going to make you lose 50 pounds. So I like to focus more on behavior modification. So if you look at your physical health and you scored yourself a 2, like, all right, let's break it down. Where's the biggest obstacle? Not all of them. We're not going to work on all of them. But the biggest obstacle is I'm not getting enough steps a day. Great. Every single day, I'm going to hit this step goal. There's your metrics, but it's a daily behavior modification. Or while I'm working, I'm going to get one of those little walking pads. So I'm just getting steps while I'm on my computer or whatever it is. So modifying the regular behavior, like Nick said, like what daily actions will have you telling a different story this time next year, right? So this is a good part of building better habits and behaviors and even metrics. Again, like maybe you do set some kind of metric to be healthier, to be stronger. I want to hit this many steps a day, or I want to get this many hours of sleep a day, right? So this is why this work is more sustainable than just saying, I want to lose 50 pounds, or I'm going to go to the gym for an hour for 5 days a week. Well, that's great, but maybe we work up to that, right? And I think the more clear you can get about what it is specifically about your health that you want to improve, you can do that and then check it off. So for me, here's an example. Last year for 2024, my goal was to send 1 email a month for the whole year. And I did it. I sent an email every month. And sometimes I even sent another little bonus email. But now that I've done that, one, I'm seeing some slow momentum come from that. People are signing up for my retreats. They're interacting with me in a different way. They're getting plugged into things that they wouldn't have before. So now that we're looking at the next year, that's just something I'm going to build on. So I'm going to send my 1 email a month. That's going to be like, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's what I'm doing. Small bit of encouragement. And then I'm going to go ahead and send a second one with a different intention. So this is just connecting with them on a personal level. Hey, I heard this today, or I learned this. How do you feel about whatever it is? So I've built this, kind of just, again, my one thing a month. It was easy. It was simple. And I'm not even going to say it's easy. It was simple. It was so simple that if I didn't do it, it's just because I was being lazy, right? It was so simple. 1 email a month. That's it. So now I'm going to build on that. So for you, again, if you're looking at physical health, or if you're, looking at whatever that is for you, I'm going to do this one thing. It's so bite-sized, but done over consistently is going to compound in great results. So this is the one, if you're going to spend any time with these questions, this is the one that I want you to spend the most time with.
And so just as another example, if you're wanting to learn an instrument, what daily actions would help you do that? Practicing?
Me. I want to do that. Yeah.
Right. So like every day you should make it a point. I want to do, whatever my lessons are, I want to work on the thing I'm supposed to work on for 15 minutes every day. Like I want to make sure that you guys, it's clear. You need to, what are the actions? Let's figure out what the actions are, but also what's the quantity of the action, right? So if you're just like, get specific, because if you're saying, I want to grow my class size, or I want to grow my income, where things lead to that? Oh, posting more on social media. Like that's not good enough. I want to post every day, or I want like once a day, or I want to post 3 times a week. And like, what else leads to more sales? Well, or more growing your audience, or like developing the relationships with your students, whatever. Maybe it's, I'm going to direct message someone every single day and check on them. Like there are things you can do to improve whatever it is that you want to improve. What's the number? Like pick a number. How long am I going to practice? How many times? Like all that stuff.
And there's your metrics. There's your goal setting that we all want. We want someone just like help us set these goals. Like this is how you do it. It's in the nitty gritty. It's not in the big, like I want to do this big thing. It's those little things that we so many times don't even look at. And I think that the clearer and the smaller you can get, and this is where we won't go into this, but this is where your habits come in, your habit stacking. So Atomic Habits, James Clear, we've talked about it 5,000 times. This is where it comes in handy. Because for me, as you were talking, Nick, I was thinking, okay, I want to learn an instrument, either guitar or piano. Piano is probably just easier with like a little keyboard, but it's like, I want to learn this instrument. So when could I do that would already match with my current schedule? So sometimes you can just add it into something you're already doing. Sometimes you've got to create space. So I was like, man, I could do that, for 15 minutes while, before getting ready for bed, because I have a whole routine. So it's like, okay, 15 minutes on the keyboard, set my clothes out, do all the things. So like, so I was actually like thinking through that. So it's where your habit stacking will come through, because once you have it, so it's like, okay, I'm going to work 15 minutes. It needs to feel so small that like you can't do it. You can't not do it. And then once you have it, then your brain will start finding ways to make it happen. It's like, okay, like I can do that here, put that here. I can stop scrolling social media every morning and do this here. So I love that.
Or even something like set an alarm on your phone. I forget who was saying this. Someone was listening to a podcast or something. And he's like, I wanted to be a better dad. So I set an alarm at 6 p.m. every day to go off. And it just says, be a better dad. And so what it would do is if I'm like scrolling my phone, or if I was still working, or just even if I was with my family, maybe I was mentally checked out, this alarm would go off, and immediately I would like, all right, what can I do right now in this moment to be a better dad? I'm going to ask my kid a question about their day, or, whatever it is. Like, there are things like that you can do to help you reach those goals.
That's good. And for those of you that don't know, iPhone users now have, with the newest update, which Nick, I know you probably don't have it yet. You're an update resistor. I get it and understand why, because my photo app keeps force closing. Anyways, with the new update, you can schedule text. You can text yourself. You can schedule so if you want to be a better dad in the mornings, you can schedule those texts to your kids like, hey, I love you, and this is something I'm really proud of you for. You can do that all at one time, and just they'll go out at different times during the day. So it's like, there is a way, and your brain will find a way once it knows what it's looking for, right? So our last question. So we have, who do I need in my corner? What daily things do I need to do that are going to lead to the change and the growth that I want to see? The last question is, what is my very next step? Like, what's my next step? So like, we don't have to go sprint up to the top of the staircase that we can't even see the whole staircase anyways. But what can I do to get on that first step, that first stair to the staircase? And I don't know, like, I was just thinking through my own, and Nick, maybe you have some on yours, but like for me, my very next step when I'm looking at my business is reaching out to someone who's great at systems and tracking and things like that, who is in my space and my sphere of influence, that can literally come and sit right here next to me with her computer, with my computer, because I know this, I am self-aware enough to know this is how I learn. I dislike it a lot about myself, because as I was setting up these lights that Nick gave me, I literally was like, I just wish someone was here to set them up. And I made a video to send to you, and while I was doing the video, I figured it out. So I couldn't get the little thing to click at the bottom. I didn't know that's how to get the light bulb in. So I am a very kinesthetic learner. I know this about myself. And instead of being like ashamed of that, I'm just going to find someone who can meet me where I'm at. So she's great at spreadsheets. She's great at tracking. She's great at systems that help in this area. And she has agreed to like come and sit down with me. And like, here, I'll sit down. You tell me what you want. I'm going to build it for you, this system for you. I'm like, great. And there's no judgment, no shame. And so that was my next step for me, was to hire somebody, bring someone in who can do this with me and for me. And I hope that my 3 on my tracking and systems is at least doubled when we have this conversation next year.
Yeah, and just one tip too, that your very next step, I would say it's per thing you want to change. Like for each one, you're going to have a next step.
Yeah.
So for me, I mean, I have several. So like on the relationship side with my wife and my kids, I need to reestablish date night. That hasn't been happening, and that's a really big one. And then I used to do these, I call them one-on-ones with my kids, where every week we did one. So I did one with one son this week, and next week I would do it with the other son. And then Rachel we would flip-flop which one we did our one-on-ones with. So that's my next step, is to reestablish date night and reestablish the one-on-ones, because I dropped those. And then for fun, hobbies, joy, I want to put them on my calendar and block them out and just not allow anything to take those times.
All of that. You can put all of that on your calendar.
Yes. And then on the business side of things, I am trying to figure out my next hire. And in order to do that, I need to track how I'm spending my time. So I'm in this group coaching program, and they're helping me with a lot of this stuff. And this is I'm trying to figure out the next hire, and they have this process to go through. And part of that is auditing your time, because just a side note, there might be things you're doing in your business that you're like, oh, I need to hire someone to do this, even if it's part-time or whatever. But there might not be enough of it to justify hiring someone to do that. And it might just be something that you really don't enjoy. So like it feels bigger than it is. So there might not be a lot of it, but it's something you really don't like doing. And so it feels like it's bigger. But if you do an actual audit of your time, like you actually keep track of like, I'm doing this task, and there's this tool that I use called Toggle, where you put like, what is this for, and hit play. And then when you're done, you hit stop, and it tracks your time. Because ever since I've been in this space, everyone says the same thing. You got to audit your time, audit your time. They'll have like a sheet you got to fill out. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like every 15 minutes, write down what you're working on. I'm like, oh my gosh. But this thing is like, it's super easy. So I need to audit my time because that will be a little bit more telling. There's some stuff on the YouTube side for clients I don't enjoy doing and I don't want to do. And in my head, I'm like, oh, I need someone to handle this YouTube SEO, search engine optimization stuff. But when I look at how I spend my time, I spend a lot more time doing edit reviews. So maybe it makes more sense to invest more in that, either have someone do that for me or invest more in editors who can help carry the load, because it's not just review, I'm editing and tweaking and stuff. So thinking through that, like where do I actually spend the bulk of my time? Then I'll know this is where I need more help in my business. So for me, that next step is doing the audit.
I think something that you and I both just said was, and I want to highlight, is being self-aware enough to know like what we'll actually do and we won't do. So for me, I know that if I get this giant program for QuickBooks or, whatever, not that there's anything wrong with those, it's like, it's just more than I need. And it feels overwhelming to have to learn on my own. What I need is someone to come and show me and just build out exactly what I need, so that I'm more likely to do it. So like you were saying, like, I'm not going to do that. Like we know that about ourselves. And so it's like, so let's find a system that does work to help us build these systems. Man, so I love doing this work. It energizes me. It makes me excited. I love watching other people do it. But I also know that like a lot of us, it feels overwhelming. Like this feels like a lot, like, oh my gosh, I scored myself 2s in everything. What do I do? Right? Like, I mean, hopefully that's not the case, but hey, if it is, that's just where you're at. And now we know where we can work towards. So we know that this can be overwhelming, and this is what we do. Like, this is what we get to sit with other leaders and teachers and instructors and kind of work through. So if you're like, bro, like I feel so overwhelmed, but I kind of want to change some of these things, we got you. Like, this is what we do. So reach out to us, shoot us a DM, email us. I mean, however you want to get a hold of us. I can put Nick's phone number. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. But just reach out to us and let's have a conversation about if there's anything we can either resource you with, or maybe we hop on a discovery call and see if coaching is a good option for you. But we want to help you. We want to partner with you and empower you to do this work, because we're sitting in so much of this work ourselves. So yeah, we both have work we want to do, and we can reflect and see like the ways we have done it and the ways that it has given us freedom and empowered us to live. So reach out to us, but we'd love to hear and just tell us how this went for you. Like, we'd love to just hear your story about it and hear from you. Welcome back. Happy New Year. It's going to be an amazing year. Look, what we know is life is messy, life is hard, and we are promised fulfillment and joy and hope and peace in the middle of all of it. So we are not promised the absence of pain and sorrow and sadness and all the things that we face, but we are promised a good God who's with us through all of it. So that's how I can say with confidence that 2025 is going to be amazing. You're going to be amazing. You're going to grow. You're going to develop. And we want to walk alongside you as you do.
Well, friend, I hope you found that helpful. And if you did, can you hit that like button and subscribe? Make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes. And we will catch you on the next one.